Hey guys, this is Courtney from Willow's Bloom, where we intentionally design our life and business with the cosmos. And today I'm here to talk to you guys about the new moon solar eclipse happening at 23 degrees of Sagittarius. So I felt really called first, before we even talk about this moon, to actually talk about something called the Sabian symbols, which is basically somebody channeled these messages, and they were messages for each and every degree of each and every zodiac sign. So if you know anything about astrology, that you know that there are 30 degrees for each zodiac sign. And so there's a specific message for each degree and of each sign. And so I looked up 23 degrees Sagittarius, and this was the message that I got. Leaving the ship, the first moment your foot touches down in new land. The thing about immigration is that regardless of how rich or poor the immigrants are, they bring much of their homeland with them. Food, cooking styles, family ways, cultural flavors, heritage, no matter how drastic the change, nor under what circumstances leaving the homeland, immigrants will preserve something from their homeland. The new world is entered with the sense of trepidation, sea legs shaking from a strange and long voyage. It may take some time before one finds one's legs and one feels steady and secure stepping onto land. So that gave me a lot of insight, because if you know much about Sagittarius or even the ninth house in astrology, it is about traveling. It's about foreign lands, about expanding through new circumstances, new events, new beginnings that challenge you as a person because you've never been through something like that before. And so I love that this is happening right now, right before we're about to have the great conjunction with Saturn and Jupiter, which are moving into Aquarius. So what I really see is we're going to be turning over a new leaf as a society, but there's going to be a lot of changes that are happening next year. I've talked about this many times. I'm also coming out with a video on 2021 and the Great Conjunction and what all that means. So I'm really going to save it for that video. But I just wanted to say that I feel like what this solar eclipse is doing is it's bringing us a new beginning, because that's what solar eclipses do. They bring changes of events, changes of life circumstances. And it's really going to be something that leads us energetically into the new year. And so I think that what is happening with this new moon eclipse is it's basically saying we need to start to discern what we want to bring with us and what we want to leave behind. And when we think about Sagittarius, we think really specifically about your beliefs and your thoughts about the world, which goes very hand in hand with your hope or optimism for what is to come. And so that's something I love about Sagittarius or Jupiter energy. It's the anticipation that what is to come is going to be better than what you once had. And so I think that is kind of like what this new moon is giving us. It's giving us that hope, that anticipation of a better, brighter new beginning. This moon is also in conjunction with Mercury. So the sun is combust Mercury, which changes or challenges Mercury in a way. And I also pulled a card, which is Virgo I Analyze, and Mercury is the ruler of Virgo. So I thought that that was kind of driving home this message around really being clear about our thoughts and beliefs and what we want to carry with us as we step into this new land. So just like these foreigners are coming from their old country and they're stepping into a new land, we are coming from this year 2020 and we are stepping into 2021 where everything is going to change. Everything is going to be different. We're going to feel like different people. But there's going to be a core essence of who we are, what we believe, what we think about, how we act. That is going to be the thread of us bringing our customs from our previous land to the new land. So we're going to be bringing things from 2020 into 2021. And what I feel like this I Analyze card is saying, and the fact that Mercury is right here in this eclipse, what I feel like it's saying is that we're really being called to use the power of our own mind to analyze or discern what in our life should come with us, what we want to cultivate more of, and who we want to become more of by continuing the 2020 energy. And then discerning, okay, what do I not want to cultivate more of? What do I want to believe differently about? Those are the kinds of things we need to leave behind. So this new moon solar eclipse is also making a trine to Mars and a square to Neptune. So Mars and Neptune are both direct. They're both moving forward. They're both in their home signs. Mars is in Aries, Neptune's in Pisces. So they're both really feeling themselves right now. Like they're feeling their energy. So they're strong players in this eclipse. And a trine to Mars, it's in a tighter orb, meaning it's speaking to the eclipse in a more significant way. However, trines themselves tend to be angles or conversations between planets that are so chill that they don't necessarily create change, because they're like, yeah, we're gonna support you, like do whatever you want. It's like that kind of parent that gives you like the green light or the go ahead to do what you want. And that's really what I see Mars as, especially Mars in Aries, is doing what you want. And so I think it's really the Sagittarius eclipse is saying, okay, let's first take the time and the wisdom, because the sun really represents wisdom in astrology. Let's take the time and the wisdom and pair that with our intellect and decipher what we really want. And then Mars is saying, if you want it, you can have it. So far, everything is super positive and perfect in this eclipse. It's like, okay, decide what you want and then go do it, and you can do it. The harshness or the difficulty comes in with this square to Neptune and Pisces. So this eclipse will obviously affect people differently depending on where they have this falling in their chart, if it's activating planets, which houses it's in. So I'm going to be going over the rising signs in a minute, but everyone is going to have a similar thread of experience where there is going to kind of be this clash between what we want to believe is true, what we want to hope for with the Sagittarius energy, and then this square to Neptune and Pisces, where there can often be like delusions that lead to disappointments. And a square is an angle that asks us to make a change because there is tension happening. So it's almost like Neptune is coming in here and kind of challenging us to hope for the future, but not be too idealistic, if that makes sense. Like, I want to envision this new, better 2021, but I don't want to envision it in a way that is so out of touch with reality that I'm just led to disappointment. And that's what Neptune tends to do. If there was a positive aspect here with Neptune, I would say that it's encouraging us to dream big and to think like that. But this negative aspect to Neptune to me is saying that we can dream big, we can have all these desires and hopes and wishes, but it's almost like we also need to ground ourselves in the reality that some of 2020 is coming with us. And that's what I think the 23 degrees of Sagittarius is, that we are starting a new leaf, a new beginning, but it's never truly a new beginning. Like, nothing is existing in a vacuum. Nothing is just starting fresh without having a history before it. And so we are moving into this new year where we're going to have all these changes and things are going to be happening, but we can't be in the delusion that the difficulties of 2020, the traumas of 2020, the circumstances that came about, the people that we lost, the money, the homes, whatever we lost, those challenges are not just gone. They might change and transform into new challenges the next year, but they're still there. And I feel like that's kind of like what this square to Neptune is saying is, we know you want to be really idealistic and optimistic about what's to come, but that's not necessarily life. And so I feel like that's a kind of depressing message. But overall, I do think what it's saying is that we are meant to have hope. We are meant to choose the things that we want to create, and we absolutely can create them, but it just might not end up being exactly how we had hoped, things might change a little bit. Things might require more flexibility in the new year, that we can't just like have our vision with Sagittarius. It's the archer, right? They are pulling back their bow and they have a direct line of vision, and they're like, I want to shoot that thing. And so that's us. That's what it's calling us to do, especially with this Virgo. I analyze it saying, get super clear about what you want to focus on, your vision. And Mars is saying, absolutely go for it, do it. But Neptune is like, it's not going to be exactly how you thought it would be. It's not going to end up just being straight A to B easy because you've come off of this hard year. You deserve that. No, it's like we come off of this hard year, we still experience the ripple effects of that hardship. There's no clean break here. And so whatever we are going after, we're meant to go after it. We're meant to be optimistic, but we're also meant to equally hold within us the space or the capacity for flexibility, for things changing, for things not really going as we planned, but still being in full alignment with what's in our best interest. I also pulled a card just for this general reading of the moon, and it says within the next few months. So I love these cards because I feel like they get specific about what's coming. And what I felt like for this is saying that the things that you are envisioning now, you're setting your sights on now, you're going to slowly start to see them manifest over the next few months. And here's the thing about eclipses. They bring radical, quick change. However, okay, let me backtrack. So when we have an eclipse like this, we're going to see some kind of change happen in an area of our life. And it could be more positive for you depending on, your aspects and like your chart, or more negative. But generally solar eclipses tend to bring new opportunities, which I like to think is a positive thing. So we will see the beginnings of that. We will see like a drastic kind of overnight change in some respect when this affects our chart in a major way. Not everyone is affected in a major way. It depends on, again, your chart. So we're going to see, some of us will experience like a drastic change really quickly. But then the thing about eclipses is that they continue to happen on the nodes. So that we're going to continue to have Gemini, Sagittarius eclipses. And what that means is that it's slowly kind of integrating more and more of the manifestations throughout each eclipse. And so the information I'm getting from this card within the next few months is basically saying that while you might get like this burst of change that's happening now, it's really within the next few months as we step into 2021, probably around like February, March, that you're really going to start feeling like that expansion that Sagittarius gives. You're going to start seeing your vision manifest. You're going to feel like you are stepping into that new life that you wanted, even if you're still carrying some of 2020 with you. So that is what I'm seeing for this eclipse. And now I'm going to go through and talk about each of the rising signs. Okay, so let's talk about Capricorn risings. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in your 12th house, and it's making a trine to Mars in the 4th and a square to Neptune in the 3rd. Interesting. So in ancient astrology and even in modern astrology, some of the most difficult houses are the 6th, 8th, and 12th houses. And so to have an eclipse here, which eclipses can bring kind of like crisis moments for us that feel negative. It feels like, oh my gosh, this vision I've had for my life, it's no longer feeling in alignment. I feel lost. And what this eclipse does is it causes that feeling, but ultimately that leads you to finding a more aligned path. So I was reading something about this online recently where it was talking about, don't worry about the initial feeling of eclipses. There's always a second act. And to me, what that is saying is that initially it appears negative, but it ends up resolving itself in a way that is actually super beneficial. And there just had to be some form of destruction or change that felt uncomfortable in order for that newness to come in and take its place. So I feel like that could be what's happening with you guys. Because like I said, the 12th house can bring up a lot from the depths of us that have been hidden, that have been unconscious to our knowing. So there could be something going on that has been kind of riding underneath the surface that this eclipse brings out for you guys, that you really were not consciously thinking of or consciously aware of. And then this eclipse happened and it's like, whoa, you know, something is going on here. There's something in my life that needs to change. There's something that doesn't feel right anymore. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to make a really strong foundation in the future moving forward. And Mars is supporting you from your home, from your family, from your financial security. You guys are being supported in that area, and you're given the direct go ahead to make those changes. You guys are going to be, you know, supported through your loved ones, through your finances, things like that. But then with the square to Neptune in the third, it's interesting because when I think of the third house, I tend to think of variety, like moving around, being really busy, being interested in lots of things. So having this square to Neptune here, I feel like could almost warn you of, as you're making these changes, I think it's going to be important to not only be conscious of your thoughts about what you can manifest, which is typically third house matters, but also to be conscious of like the way that you direct your energy, especially because Neptune tends to like dissipate things, and then the third house tends to spread things out. So it's almost like your energy could be kind of like zapped if you utilize the Neptune in the third house way of being. So for example, you could feel more tired more easily because you are trying to do too many things and you actually don't have the rest that you need to fully integrate what's trying to come to the surface from this eclipse. That's the other thing about the 12th house where this eclipse is happening, is the 12th house is a house that requires us to go within. It requires us to have time in solitude. And so the things that are coming to the surface from this are not going to be able to fully present themselves or manifest or integrate into your life if you are dissipating your energy, if you're focusing on too many things, if you're feeling too tired. You're not going to have the energy left to give to yourself for this change. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, to keep that in mind, that you can expect things to rise to the surface that have been not known before, and that this will instigate a change in your life, especially if you have major planets in the 12th house, and to just be very wary or careful of where you're putting your energy throughout this process. Okay, I hope that resonates. All right, up next we have Cancer Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in the 6th house. Again, it's conjunct Mercury. And then you guys are having a trine to Mars in the 10th and a square to Neptune in the 9th. Okay. Interesting. So this has a similar thread to Capricorn Rising, because I was just saying that in ancient Hellenistic astrology, the most negative houses or places are the 6th, 12th, and the 8th house. So to have an eclipse here can kind of like bring change in a way that might not always feel super beneficial, initially I should say. It might feel disruptive in some capacity, like, oh, this is not someone just giving me $1 million. It's like I have to change something about my life. Something isn't going right, or like this new opportunity comes in, but I have to leave behind something else. And so there is some element here where, because it's happening in the 6th house, it might feel more challenging than if it were in another house. So I just wanted to say that. But the eclipses, especially this eclipse, I'm really getting the feeling that the long-term outcome of this is actually very positive. And so if you are feeling concerned about what's coming up around this time, you know, plus or minus a month, but really around the 14th, you'll feel it the most. If you feel things coming up that you're like, I'm not happy about that, just give it some time, because there can be some, you know, new developments that will surprise you for the better. So having an eclipse in the 6th house, I feel like this could really have something to do with your work. because the sixth house also rules like our servitude, our slavery, giving, and not necessarily receiving. So having an eclipse here might bring up issues around that. And with this trine to Mars in the 10th, I feel like it's saying that you're going to finally start getting more recognition for what you've been doing, for the energy you've been putting out, for the things that you've been giving to people. But you might first kind of see a spotlight on where things haven't been fully, I guess, equal. And so in that sense, there might be some discomfort in that. But I do feel like because Mars is here giving positive support in the area of public recognition, in the area of career, it's saying that if you give it some time, these things are going to start manifesting. So the energy that you've been putting out is going to start being returned to you, and it's not just lost. You know, it's not just stolen. There is a square happening to Neptune in the 9th. I like Neptune in the 9th because I feel like the 9th is such an optimistic house. It has a larger vision of life. It's ruled by Jupiter, which governs our systems and the larger structure of things working together. And Neptune is this energy of universal connection, universal consciousness. Like, there is no hierarchy, there is no ups and downs. It's like we are all one. And so I kind of like the energy of these combined. It's almost like you guys might be in a very slow process, so you might not even recognize or feel it, but it's likely going on underneath the surface of having Neptune transit the 9th house. You guys might be starting to see the world differently and see the interconnectedness of everybody within the system, within the world. And it's interesting that this is making a square to the eclipse, which is causing tension. So it's almost like this interconnectedness and this seeing everyone in unity and seeing how everyone works together. It's almost like this could cause tension in you like receiving recognition, if that makes sense. So Neptune has this energy of like martyrdom or giving and giving, kind of like the same energy of the 6th house of willing to kind of break oneself in order to give to another excessively. Like this very compassionate nature. So I almost feel like that is what is being challenged for you guys. It's like the idea of receiving. Because if you're looking at everyone with so much compassion, you see everyone like you, there's this interconnectedness. Sometimes that can create a sense of self that is very concerned with helping and giving to others. And that can actually make you feel like uncomfortable receiving. Like the shadow side of that is feeling a discomfort in receiving and feeling like, oh, you know, if I'm receiving, then it's about me. If I'm getting recognition, then it's about me. And it's like the energy here is saying like that maybe you've been giving too much to other people. So that's the message that I'm getting. I don't know if that's for someone very specifically, but that to be open to receiving, that things want to come in for you through your works, through your effort, and it wants to really shine through and give you public recognition. But you have to let it. You have to be open to that. Okay, up next we have Sagittarius Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in your first house. So anytime there's an eclipse happening in your first house, there are going to be major changes to you, to your life, to your identity, and possibly to your physical body. So I would be careful with that. I would be especially careful for people with Sagittarius Risings, because I know that this eclipse is happening on a fixed star that can make you more susceptible to, I want to say pathogens, but I don't know if that's the right word. So it can make you more susceptible to COVID. It can make you more susceptible to like viruses and illnesses. So just be really careful at this time. I know that we're all being careful, but just take extra care of your body, sleep more, eat really well, meditate, do the self-care practices that are going to protect you physically, because the first house does rule our body, and eclipses can bring sudden change. And so there could be a sudden change in, you know, the state of your physical health. This is making a trine to Mars in the 5th. So in that sense, you are being supported. Mars, if there were a negative aspect to Mars, I'd be like, that's not good. But I think what it's basically saying is that now is a time for you to pursue what you want creatively. Now is a time for you to go and self-actualize. If you've been sitting on an idea, if you or if you get a download for an idea or something to pursue, a way that you can sort of alter the course of your life and alter your work. If you have a business, starting a new offering, having a child, things like this. With Sagittarius Risings, that is what's really being supported right now. You are given the go-ahead. You are saying you're going to have the creativity, the excitement, the energy in order to pursue those new endeavors that are going to alter your life. However, the square to Neptune in the 4th might indicate that there could be possibly a lack of that strong support that you maybe want from family, or that you maybe are literally lacking like the physical space to do something that you want or need to do, or you might not have like the foundations necessarily laid, or the finances necessarily at your fingertips and at your disposal to go ahead and start all these new things right away. So again, as I mentioned, whenever there is a square, it's saying that there needs to be a change. So there needs to be a change, I feel like, in your resourcefulness. Because when I think about the 4th house, I feel like it's our solid foundation, but Neptune is so like nebulous that it's almost like you don't feel like you have a strong foundation or footing to stand on. And so what I think this eclipse is asking you to do is be resourceful and find a way to create that foundation, so that your dreams, or the thing that you want to bring to life, or the changes that you want to make to your life, or even your physical body, that those can actually become manifest and last a test of time, because you've created that foundation. So as I mentioned, this could be some like business project or artwork, or something to do with literally having a kid. So it could be like you having physical changes in your body to have a kid. Like it can be quite literal. So there's lots of different ways to interpret it for you guys, but there's something that wants to birth through you that's going to totally change the course of your life. And so just make sure that your foundation is strong in order to hold that change. Sorry, my camera just died. It only records for 30 minutes, which is wonderful. Okay, so as I was saying, Gemini Risings, this eclipse is happening in your relationship area. So you guys are definitely going to undergo changes either in your partnership, or it could literally mean that this eclipse is going to change the other person. So that's the thing about astrology that I think a lot of people don't realize, especially when you're looking at it through the lens of modern astrology, which tends to look at our birth chart and the planets as part of our subconscious, or part of our psyche and our psychological makeup. Actually, astrology, especially looking at ancient astrology, it can be dictating things and events and people in your lives. And so what that means is that, for example, the 7th house is the house of the other. It can literally describe other people in your life and have nothing to do with you. So when you have an eclipse in the 7th house, it could literally make changes to other people in your life and not actually reflect changes to you, or even to your relationship to that person. But I mean, normally when someone else changes, your relationship will probably change too. So what I'm trying to say is that there can be a change to your partnership. It could be a change to like your contracts, people that you work with, or it could literally just be a change to someone in your life that doesn't necessarily affect you personally. This is making a trine to Mars in the 11th, so it's very possible that this change could be coming through from your friends, and it be a positive change in your friend group, or it could be a positive change in your outreach online. If this is for customers, it could be you reaching more people through the internet, through communities, through groups. So this would actually be a really great time if you are doing some kind of online business to reach out to people, to make connections and network, because I think that will be really supported for you at this time. However, there is a square to Neptune in the 10th house. So there is this tension happening where even though you might network and develop these relationships, there might still be some things that aren't manifesting outwardly in your career that you would necessarily want. When I think of Neptune energy, I really feel like it's this very internal energy. It's, as I was mentioning in another sign, it's very nebulous. So it's not something that materializes outwardly. It's not something that you can hold in your hand and say, I made this much money from this client. And so I almost feel like the challenge here for you is to still create those positive relationships, to still network, to still do those things, but maybe alter your expectation of how that should manifest financially into your career, or how that should manifest into other people looking at you. Because the 10th house, besides just your career, is like the way that the world sees you, your public standing in a way. So there can be like changes to your friendships, to your relationships, that you might hope will manifest in a particular way within your career as well, or within your public standing, that might not turn out that exact way. I almost feel like the changes that are happening are meant to be more internal shifts with these relationships. And so I think if we don't try to put so much emphasis on like the financial reward or the material reward, I think you're really going to feel the positivity of this eclipse, because you're going to recognize how powerful it is to be establishing these connections, this relationship with these people, this community where you feel like you have a place to go. I think that's actually going to be filling up your cup more than it is to focus on the long-term like material aspect of things. So that's just something I would say, is to focus more on the fulfillment spiritually of what's happening and coming in through your relationships rather than the material physical. Okay, up next we have Aquarius Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in the 11th house, conjunct Mercury. It's making a trine to Mars in the 3rd house and a square to Neptune in the 2nd. So I feel like this for you guys can bring about changes in your environment. An eclipse in the 11th, trining Mars in the 3rd, both of these, the 11th and the 3rd, are really focusing, these houses are really focusing on our community, our environment, the things that are outwardly influencing us or that we are interacting with. And so I do feel like you guys could have some shifts in your relationships, like people that you're interacting with. You could have a shift in the place that you are living, because that's ruling like your neighborhood and things like that. So I do feel like there is going to be a shift from you into a new community, into a new place, interacting with new types of people, thinking about new things. So I definitely feel like there is some environmental change that's happening for you guys. This is making a square to Neptune in the 2nd. So financially, this might feel like it's a bit of a stretch. It might feel like, oh my God, Neptune transiting the 2nd house is not fun, because the 2nd house is our finances, and Neptune tends to dissolve things. So it can dissolve our finances if we're not being very Virgo and meticulously tracking it. And so I guess the thing to say here is that because there's a square, it's asking you to make changes. So I want you guys to be very careful with how you are managing your money. Use this Mercurial nature, use this Virgo nature to keep track of all of the details, so that when you do have these new shifts in your environment, that it feels like it's more financially manageable for you, and not like you're just kind of leaping and hoping that it works out, which I kind of feel like the square to Neptune is saying. If this were a positive aspect with Neptune, it'd be like, leap and maybe it will work. But the square is saying, no leap, plan. It's important to plan. So So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for you guys. Some kind of change in environment, some kind of change in friendships, and new stimulus like coming at you. But I think it's going to be really good. It's going to be something that you need, that you want. So I like that for you guys. Okay. Up next, we have Leo Rising. So for you guys, this new moon eclipse is happening in the 5th house, conjunct Mercury, and it's making a trine to Mars in the 9th and a square to Neptune in the 8th. So first of all, I want to say that I feel like this eclipse is going to be the bomb.com for you guys because you guys are a fire sign, and Sagittarius is also a fire sign. So when it's in the same element, the eclipses tend to be more favorable or have, a better outcome. And then on top of that, you guys have the eclipse in the 5th house, which is one of the best houses in ancient astrology. They would see a lot of good fortune coming to the 5th house. And so I feel like this is going to be, I think this is going to be really supportive for you. So a change in the 5th house. So, okay, first of all, I wanted to just say that when you're looking at the 5th house by itself, it's typically ruled by Leo, which is your rising sign. So I feel like this is likely going to feel like a bigger, more personal eclipse for you. When there's an eclipse in the 5th house, there can be some new projects or new romantic relationships, new having a child, a new beginning that is going to manifest outwardly in your life in one of these ways. And this is making a trine to Mars in the 9th. So I do feel like you're being supported to learn more about something. So if you've been kind of wanting to start a new project, this trine to Mars in the 9th is basically saying that you can absolutely do it, but it would be in your best interest to take a course or to study under somebody or to, travel, ways that you can learn and expand your consciousness to help inform this new beginning, I think is going to be really beneficial for you. It's also making a square to Neptune in the 8th house. So I do kind of feel like there might be something that you guys need to let go of in order for this new beginning to come into place. A lot of times with solar eclipses, it's really just the new beginnings coming in, and lunar eclipses is kind of like the letting go. We've already had the lunar eclipse happen with Gemini. However, because this is making a square to Neptune in the 8th, I feel like there is still maybe more letting go that needs to happen with you guys. Because typically the 8th house is associated with loss, as well as the 12th house. And so the Neptune energy in there, I feel like is saying something needs to be let go of. And that could literally be 8th house matters of fears, of insecurities, of self-doubts. Because, the 5th house ruled by Leo is one of confidence, of knowing that you are worthy of being made manifest into something. And that's what this eclipse is doing with the 5th house, is it's basically saying you are taking your energy as a living being and manifesting it outwardly into something for the world to interact with. That could be a project, that could be business, that could be a child. There is some part of you that is externalizing. And so I feel like you're being really supported, saying absolutely go out and do that. But in the process, you have to have confidence. You might have to let go of some of the old limiting beliefs, the old patterns, the insecurities, the fears. Alternatively, you might have to literally let go of something else that you were doing. You might not have the time or the energetic capacity to handle that, doing multiple things. So there is some level of discernment that's being called on here, especially with this conjunction to Mercury. Really sit down and analyze what is getting in your way from stepping into this bright, new, adventurous beginning. Because the 5th and the 9th house are both extremely adventurous. They're both really fun. They're both out here to, the 5th house is out here to externalize your internal world, your essence, and give it to the world. And then the 9th house is where you go and interact with everyone else's external manifestations, where you grow internally because you get to witness what others have created, what others have done, what others have made in this world. So there's this beautiful juxtaposition of the two, where you are meant to give that to someone, but you're also meant to take that and learn and grow for yourself. And you can't bring any of these 8th house energies with you if you want to fully succeed in this. So I hope that this resonates. If so, please leave a comment below. Thanks. Bye. Okay, up next we have Pisces Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in the 10th house of career. It's making a trine to Mars in the 2nd house of finances and a square to Neptune in the 1st. Okay, interesting. So Neptune is your ruling planet, and it has been retrograde for a long time. It just moved direct this month. And so I feel like your guys, like your energy is going to be, I mean, since it moved direct, it's going to be shifting. You're going to start getting more clarity. Sorry, I'm just like second guessing myself. Let me take it back a second and I will work my way to what I was saying. So this eclipse is happening in the 10th house of career. So instantly I know that you guys are going to have changes, manifestations come through in your career. It's making a trine to Mars in the 2nd. So what is that telling me? It's telling me that these changes happening in your career are going to manifest financially. You guys are going to have supportive energy coming in through your money. So I definitely think that is like one of the most positive explanations of this eclipse. Alternatively, it could be that your confidence in your talents and your abilities are coming in to help you make these shifts in your career. Regardless, there is some support from the 2nd house of either your money, your talents, your skills, but it's basically saying, go for it. You can do this. You can make this career change. Don't delay. The square to Neptune in the 1st, I feel like Neptune transiting your 1st, I feel like it's, I heard an astrologer explain it like this. It's like driving through a foggy road on a mountainside. You're not going to go full throttle because Neptune creates inherent lack of clarity. And I wanted to say that now he's direct, that there's going to be more clarity, but that's where I started arguing with myself because I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it might actually be the opposite. When it's retrograde, you might have more clarity. So now that Neptune is direct and he's moving through your 1st house of self, what I feel like that is saying is that you guys still don't feel like you have a concrete vision for your life, for who you are, for what you want, for the things that you are striving after, which is kind of challenging because Sagittarius is very focused on having this vision, and you are having an eclipse happen in a house where you see those outward manifestations. So it's almost like the prerequisite to all of this is having a clear vision, right? Well, that might feel like where the tension lies for you, because having Neptune moving through the 1st is saying that you might still question elements of your purpose. Your, like, literally could even affect like your health or your physical body. You could be having something happen with your health that is feeling like it's in conflict or in strife with you achieving your purpose. And yeah, there's something about you trying to go out there in the world and self-actualize that maybe still feels like there is lacking clarity. And so what I feel like ultimately this eclipse is bringing you is positive changes in your career. And this square to Neptune is, I guess, challenging you guys to go within and to still move forward, but maybe at a different pace. Because just like you wouldn't stop driving because there's fog in the road, you would still move forward, but you would go slower. And I think that's kind of what this is saying, is like, go within, take it slow, be mindful, be intentional of what you're doing. And when you're doing that, you're honoring the Neptune energy in your 1st house, and it's going to still allow you to manifest the positive changes happening within your career. So I like this for you guys. I do think that there is an element of challenge here, but I think ultimately it's going to feel really beneficial for you. Okay, up next we have Virgo Risings. So for you guys, this eclipse in Sagittarius is happening in your 4th house of home, family, and foundations. It's making a trine to Mars in your 8th house and a square to Neptune in your 7th house. Interesting. So you guys are experiencing some kind of shift in your home. So I do feel like some of you guys could be moving when there's eclipse here, depending if you have planets. But the fourth house, yeah, it depends. It depends on where exactly it's hitting in your chart. But oftentimes the fourth house is a very struggling activated one, where we start to see like very outward manifestations of an eclipse change. So you guys could literally be moving homes. There could be changes happening within your family unit. So your home could be the same, but within the home there could be changes. There could also be changes to something of your foundation. So I don't know exactly what that would look like. Everyone's foundation is different, but there's going to be some element of your foundation, whether that's financial, familial, psychological, unconscious. There's some element there that will undergo a shift. And I do feel like it could be unconscious. It could be psychological because of this trine to Mars in the 8th. So that's one element of this, is saying that there can be some positive support happening for you to let go and change some of these unconscious patterns that maybe you've been living in. And that's one of the ways that this can manifest. Another way is that there could be some positive support coming from other people's money, other people's resources. So maybe people are helping you move. Maybe you're getting a loan from a bank. Maybe people are giving you stuff like furniture. Or if there's changes in your family dynamic, like someone passing away, you could be getting an inheritance. Like there's so many ways that this can manifest. It's really hard to say like this is what it's going to be. But energetically, you guys are having some structural changes to your home, being supported by other people's resources, or being supported by you moving through some of these negative limiting beliefs. Okay, so this eclipse is also making a square to Neptune in the 7th house. And what that can really mean is that there can be some tension arising in relationships or with someone else in your life. And so there might need to be some changes that need to be made in regards to your relationships and the way that you interact with people, your boundaries, especially with other people, in order for these manifestations to really come through for you. Up next, we have Aries Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse in Sagittarius is happening in the 9th house, and it's making a trine to Mars in your 1st and a square to Neptune in your 2nd. So this is a good one. I feel like with Mars finally direct moving through your 1st house and this being such a supportive energy for this eclipse, I feel like this is giving you guys the green light, the go ahead, to start making changes in the area of your life related to things that you're studying, related to you traveling, some kind of personal expansion, maybe you teaching, that type of thing. I do feel like there is going to be something here that can oftentimes bestow blessings, because the 9th house is the traditional house of Sagittarius, of Jupiter, of benevolence, blessings, optimism, good things coming to you. And so to have this eclipse here, I feel like is a really good omen of what is to come as far as anything as far as receiving any blessings in your life. And then also you being able to utilize your own energy, your passions, and your goals to make something happen is, again, that's being really positively supported because of Mars moving through your 1st house in your sign. However, there is a square happening with Neptune in the 12th house. So I feel like there is something that needs to be let go of here, likely in regards to things from the past. So this Sagittarius eclipse, I feel like is asking you guys to expand, and it's going to be a benevolent time for expansion because you're a fire sign and Sagittarius is also a fire sign. So this eclipse is giving you the positive sides of it. Of course, it depends on your personal chart to really get down to the details. But at the essence of this, it's going to be a positive eclipse for you. However, there are likely patterns and things from the past that are holding you back that you need to let go of. Because of the square to Neptune in the 12th. It could literally mean these behaviors that we kind of tend to rely on in order to escape reality. It could be anything that alters your consciousness or takes you away from being present in the physical material realm. So that could be you watching movies on Netflix. It could be you smoking weed, doing drugs, spending excessive time with other people, not not enough time with yourself. So there is something here that needs to kind of be altered or let go of. These addictive patterns that keep you from gaining full awareness of self. And then alternatively, likely things from the past that that could be kind of tripping you up again and again, but maybe that you haven't been fully aware of. I feel like this eclipse could trigger some of those things to come to the surface for you to be like, oh, that needs to end. Like that pattern is not serving me. And that's what's going to help you step further into this expansion. So if you are an Aries rising, I do feel like it's a good time to start new learning endeavors, or teaching endeavors, something where you're really imparting your wisdom. But in order to fully do that, there has to be some kind of reckoning with how you've been living up to this point. There has to be something to let go of in order to fully step up into that capacity. Okay, so I hope that resonates. If so, comment down below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Okay, so for Libra risings, this eclipse is happening in your 3rd house and conjunct Mercury, which Mercury loves to be in the 3rd house already. And it's making a trine to Mars in your 7th and a square to Neptune in your 6th. This is interesting. Yeah, so an eclipse happening in the 3rd house, this is kind of what I was saying for people with Aquarius risings. Like a change, when I think of the 3rd house, oftentimes there can be like a change in environment. So that's one element of what this eclipse can bring. It can be like literally changes to the environment that you're interacting with on a daily basis. Alternatively, there could be a need to change your relationship with your siblings, your way of communicating, or the way that you think about something. And because Mercury is here as well, I do feel like that has a lot to do with the way that you think about something. There needs to be some kind of alteration in your approach. And because this is making a square to Neptune in the 6th house, I feel like the change in your approach is going to somehow be related to your work, the way that you show up in your daily life, or the way that you take care of your body, even like your mental health within your work. And that's an interesting thing, because when I think of Neptune energy, I think a lot about compassion and giving. And when it's moving to the 6th house, I feel like it's kind of like asking you to give a lot of yourself, and it's almost like you might need to fill up your own cup with this kind of square. So maybe there is some change that needs to happen to your environment, to the way that you think about your work, in order to fill up your own cup, in order to support you. And I do feel like you guys are being supported through other people. So whether that's, like your partner, your relationship, whether that's your parents, your family members, there are people in your life that are supporting you throughout any of these changes, that are encouraging you to fill up your own cup, that want you to explore this new mindset, this new way of thinking about your work or about your life. And so I feel like it's going to be positive in that sense, but definitely overall, it can be, there's always, let me pull a card for you guys, because I feel called to. But yeah, whenever we're trying to change our mindset about something, it can be uncomfortable at first. Like we can have, a lot of times realizations can come to the surface, like, oh, I didn't quite understand that that's how I was living, or like new information can come to light of some sort. And so that can be uncomfortable, because eclipses in the 3rd, they can herald messages, like things that you have never heard or seen or understood or known before. Interesting. So yeah, just keep that in mind. If you guys are getting new insights or information, and you feel like you need to make a change to your health, your daily routines, or your career, then yeah, I feel like the information that's coming in is going to be through other people. not something that you're just intrinsically realizing yourself. Because of this trine with Mars in the 7th, I feel like as you communicate with people, you're going to have information or realizations come in that a light bulb is going to click, and you're going to see the things that you need to change in your work, your health, or your daily routines in order to feel more in alignment, in order to feel happier, more fulfilled. It's interesting though, I pulled the void of course moon missing. And the first thing I thought that comes along with the void of course moon is, okay, don't take action yet. So whenever a moon is void of course, it just means that it's not receiving angles or conversations from other planets. And we don't want to really do a lot of important stuff during a void of course moon, because the moon is a receptive planet. So it is reflecting back the conversations and the energies of others. And so that's how it's meant to be and thrive. It receives and reflects. And so when it's void of course, it's like all on its own. It doesn't have all the information. That's why it says it's missing something here. So don't act too soon, because I think there's information missing, and this eclipse is what is going to help bring that to the surface. Some missing pieces are going to arise, and it might not be all at once. Oftentimes eclipses will bring things rather quickly, so you could have that come in, like the day of the eclipse. Alternatively, it could be like a month before or after. But as I was mentioning, I think at the beginning of the video, eclipses happen on the Gemini Sagittarius polarity, and they interchange for many months. And what that means is that the picture is slowly being filled in over time. So you get like this big change or insight, but that's only a piece of the puzzle. And then at the next eclipse, you get another piece of the puzzle. And the next eclipse, you get another piece of the puzzle. And as an air sign, and with this like eclipse conjunct Mercury, I feel like it's saying that's exactly what you're getting. You're getting that knowledge, that insight, that wisdom from the sun that the sun is bestowing onto Mercury. And so I think you're going to do well with this energy because of that. But I think, yeah, don't act too soon, and things will start to make sense more over time. But just be ready to make changes. Okay, up next we have Taurus Rising. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in your 8th house, and it's conjunct Mercury. It's making a trine to Mars in your 12th house and a square to Neptune in the 11th. So for Taurus Rising, this feels like a lot of transformation and letting go of things. It doesn't, like, normally eclipses will tend to bring like physical manifestations in our life, but sometimes it can be news, revelations, ideas. It doesn't, shifts in your feelings. It doesn't have to be necessarily a physical manifestation. So I do feel like because of the 8th and the 12th house interaction here, I do feel like it's possible that this isn't something that's going to necessarily physically manifest as much as it is internally. Yeah, the 8th and the 12th house are both very internal houses where we go to process on, like the 8th house specifically, we process a lot of our fears. And the 12th house is where we don't necessarily process it, we store it. And those fears that we store away that we never are conscious of manifest themselves outwardly as self-sabotaging behavior. And so I like that this eclipse is happening in the 8th house. It's like shining a light on the things in your life that you are consciously aware of, that you know that you need to overcome or to change, to feel more positive, to feel lighter, to feel like you can move into the new year and start to physically manifest stuff that doesn't have the tethers or the cords of like negative energy or karma associated with them, because you kind of burn that all away. You've done the healing part, and now you can manifest from a clean new slate. And with this trine to Mars, I feel like what it's saying is that you're going to be able to go within now and have some of these patterns arise from the unconscious that are connected to self-undoing behavior, that are connected to self-sabotage. And it's going to give you an opportunity to really see it for what it is, to see the truth. Because that's the other thing about eclipses, is it's, as I said, it's not necessarily outward manifestations. It can sometimes be just truth, like a truth bomb. And so that's kind of like what I feel like for you guys, especially because the 8th house is what rules our underlying motives and our understanding of everyone else's motives. So in its essence, it is the truth. And so I do feel like you guys are understanding a new level of truth about yourself, about any maybe self-sabotaging behaviors that you have, or self-limiting thoughts, or anything like that. Those are going to be healed at this time. And with the square to Neptune in the 11th, there can be some changes that need to be made in terms of your community or your friendships or even your goals or plans for the future. There needs to be some change in that area in order for you to start the outward manifestations. I feel like what this is doing is it's bringing up issues to the surface to be like truths about yourself, to be let go of, to be dealt with. But those truths are intricately linked to your friendships, or intricately linked to your online community, or intricately linked to your goals and wishes. There's truths coming in around those subjects, and you're realizing, oh shit, like I can't be friends with this person anymore, or I need to approach my relationship with this person in a different way, or maybe this goal or this dream is much smaller than I'm capable of achieving, and it's because of the self-limiting pattern or belief that's held me back. Now I can have a new vision, a new goal, something bigger and better. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for you guys. I hope that makes sense. If it resonates, please let me know and comment down below. Bye. Okay, so last but not least, we have Scorpio Risings. So for you guys, this eclipse is happening in the 2nd house, and it's conjunct Mercury, and it's making a trine to Mars in the 6th house and a square to Neptune in the 5th. So I love this for you guys. This is funny. I was looking at my friend's chart because this eclipse she's a Scorpio rising. This eclipse is hitting her 2nd house, and it's exact on Mars in her 2nd house. And she's already seen the manifestation of it. Hers is making an aspect as well to the 7th house, which is other people. This is kind of a tangent, but I think it's cool to like show the real manifestations of this energy. And so her dad has started to give her inheritance now. Like he's like, oh, in case they ever put me in a home, they're gonna like freeze my assets and my money, so I'm gonna slowly start to be giving you money over time. And so that is a literal manifestation of this. And for you guys, I don't know what your planets are and how that will manifest for you, but happening in the 2nd house, you're basically being given money, or you're being given insight into how capable you are and your abilities, or you're being given opportunities because of your talents and abilities. You're given an opportunity to manifest, or the manifestation is coming in already. And because this is making a trine to Mars in the 6th, I definitely think that this is from your past efforts. This is karma coming back around because you've put in a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of time into something. You've given a lot to other people, and you haven't necessarily received all that back. And this eclipse in the 2nd house is saying you're going to start getting that back. It's coming in the form of opportunities, new skills, or money. There's going to be some kind of nice, juicy, tangible thing to hold on to. And it's making a square to Neptune in the 5th. So the first thing I think about when I think of Neptune in the 5th is I feel like it's this energy of being indulgent in a way, because the 5th house, at least according to evolutionary astrology, can often be where we overdo things, like the person in the past life who had way too much to drink or to eat, or too many partners, and it kind of created problems in that way. And Neptune in and of itself can have more of an addictive tendency, like an escapist tendency, as well as the 5th house. So one of my explanations for you guys having this square to the fifth house, I feel like it's saying that the manifestations are going to come in because of your effort, and the things that can derail you are the pleasures of life and overdoing them. So you are absolutely going to see things come to you, but you need to use your discernment about where you're spending your time. If you're spending too much time doing things that bring you joy and pleasure rather than the things that are really working you towards something very purposeful. And not that those have to be mutually exclusive, but sometimes in this aspect with Neptune the fifth, it's like the joy and pleasure of ease, of comfort. And that's actually not what brings in manifestations. Like, yeah, the manifestation is ease and comfort, right? But that only comes to us after we've put in the hard work, and we can only fully enjoy it once we put in the hard work. Neptune in the fifth house is the energy of, I'm going to feel ease and feel comfort because I don't want the hardships of life. But the hardships of life are what are part of the cycle and part of what helps us reap the benefits and reap the rewards of what we have done. And so I feel like what this square is saying is there might need to be like some changes in how you spend your downtime or your free time, in order to ensure that you don't get sidetracked along the way, especially as manifestations start to come in. Like, as the money starts to come in, be careful where you're spending that money. Spend it on things that are going to build you up towards your future rather than like the pleasures of the moment. The things that feel good in the moment but don't have long-term rewards for you, I feel like can be the distraction here. And that's really what I'm saying. So that's the energy that I get. I haven't really pulled a card for anyone but Libra Rising, but I kind of want to pull a card for you guys too. So the 12th house, escape. You guys, I literally cannot make this up. The 12th house is ruled by Neptune and Pisces, which is the energy I'm talking about. And it's about escaping. It's about self-undoing behaviors because we're not interested in living this current reality of that can be harsh at times, of work and difficulties. But all of those things that you have put your effort into are going to pay off and are paying off with this eclipse. It's just saying don't get sidetracked with this kind of escapist energy. All right, so that's all I see for you guys. If this resonates, please comment down below, and I hope you guys have a great day. And if you want an astrology reading from me, you can check me out at willsboom.com. I'm thinking of starting to offer transit readings like this. So where I basically look at how it's going to affect your personal chart, because that changes everything. As you saw with my friend, she manifested this energy of receiving money because this eclipse is happening right on Mars in her second house. So if you guys have a planet, at 23 degrees of Sagittarius, some manifestations are going to come. And I mentioned hers was connected to the 7th house of relationships. So I knew it was going to come from someone else, money coming from someone else. So it's very literal, and I love to explore that. So if you guys are interested in doing some kind of transit reading, maybe even using some cards, because this just adds another intuitive level to it that I love, let me know in the comments below, because I don't currently offer it, but I've been having more and more people contact me that are interested in that specifically. So, I just want to give you guys what you want, and that's basically, like, that reading would be basically what this is, but in a tailored version for you, where you will really see those things come to life. Whereas this could be hit or miss depending on the angles and planets in your chart. So yeah, so I hope that this is a really good one for you guys, and have a great day. Bye.